All right, so the goal of this lesson is to prove two triangles are congruent using some given information. So they're going to give us some information and we're going to figure out if we can prove that the triangles have to be congruent with that information. So to start, we just need to review this important basic that I probably should have explained better much earlier, but I'm learning this. So how do we name the parts of triangles? This is just a review. I think some of you guys got this and some of you guys just need a quick refresher. So review the parts of triangles. Okay, so how do we name the sides of a triangle? Let's do the sides first. So if I want to name the sides of the triangle, you need to use two letters, which are the two endpoints of the sides, with a little line on top of it. So let me name these sides and see if it makes sense how we're doing it. So this side right here is JI with this dash. This dash shows that I'm naming JI. This side here is IH. And it doesn't matter, you could also say HI. That's still going to obviously be the same line segment. And then let's try the last one, JH. So these are the sides of my triangle, JI, IH, JH. And to show that I'm naming a side, I put this little line on top. Okay, so how do I name an angle? You're going to use three letters with the vertex in the middle. And an angle symbol in front. The angle symbol is this little sideways V. Okay, so how do I name these angles? Let's color code it again. So let's say I want to name this angle here. So it's angle IJH. I could switch the H and the I, but the J has to be in the middle because that's the vertex of that angle. Okay, let's name this angle right here JHI. So the H is the vertex, so the H is in the middle. And then angle HIJ. So for all my names of my angles, I have my angle symbol in front, and then I have three letters with a vertex in the middle. So this should be something that you really have solid in your notes because we're going to be naming parts of triangles a lot this week, and these are the basic skills you really need to have. Okay, so now we're just going to do 3 example problems of how can we use information that they give us to prove that a triangle is congruent. So example 1, here's the given information. So this box is all the given information. That's what's called our givens. This is what they're telling us. Okay, and then here's our diagram. So step 1, we're always going to use the givens to label the diagram. So label the diagram using given information. So when I look at my givens, I see that I first have an angle. This first piece, they're telling me about an angle. So let's look, ACT. So I just trace it with my finger, with my pencil, ACT. So that's this angle right here. So the way we're going to label that angle, we can put this little mark. Now, which angle is it congruent to? WCE. So those two angles match up to each other. So that's my first given information. The next one is talking about, the next two are talking about a side, right? So TC is congruent to EC. So the way we're going to do that is with these little tick marks. It doesn't matter how many we do as long as they match up to each other. So let's do AC and WC. And I'll do a double tick mark. Okay, so from looking at this, it looks like I can say that the triangles are congruent because I have a side, an angle, and a side. So we're just going to write this out now. Okay, so step 1 is label it, give it information. Step 2, write given information into the chart. So I'm going to just, for this one, it's easy because they just told me the information. So I'm just going to copy it down. So ACT is congruent to WCE. Is it a side or an angle? That is an angle. And how do I know? I know because they told me. So I know because it was that information was given to me. So let's do the next one. TC is congruent to EC. And that one's talking about a side. And they also just told me that information. I knew because they just told me. Okay. And then last but not least, AC is congruent to WC, which is another side. And they also just gave me that. So are these triangles congruent? Yes. And I can see that I have side, angle, side. So my reason is going to be side, angle, side. And now I just have to line up the names of the triangles. So let's just do ACT for my first triangle. And when I do my next triangle, I just have to match up the sides. So I'll just say WCE. So triangle ACT is congruent to triangle WCE by side, angle, side. So my step 3 was to choose the right congruence property, which for this one was side, angle, side. So we're going to use, this is an easy example because they just gave me all the information. We're going to get to harder and harder ones, but it's always going to be the same 3 steps. We're just going to do 2 more examples, and then we'll practice more in class. Example 2. Okay, so let's mark up this diagram. So angle RBE, so that's this angle, is congruent to RBO. So these 2 angles are the same. I'm just going to show that. Another way to show that angles are congruent when you're marking up the diagram is with, like, I could use a matching number of little lines in the angle. And then it tells me RE is congruent to RO. Okay, and then I can see right here that this side is actually just the same as itself. So even though they only gave me 2 pieces of information, I still have enough information since one of the sides I can see is the same. So let's fill in my chart. I'll start with my givens. So RBE is congruent to RBO, and that's an angle. And the reason I know that is because it was given to me. Okay, and then RE is congruent to RO. So that's another, that's a side, and it was also given to me. And then this time I have to add in a new piece of information. I have to add in that RB is congruent to RB, right? It's congruent to itself, and that's the side. So my reason this time is going to be anything is congruent to itself. Oops, sorry. So I actually have side, angle, side again because I have so let me list out my triangles. I'll say RBE is congruent to triangle RBO by side, angle, side. Because they gave me, even though they only gave me 2 pieces of information, it was still enough to know that the triangles were congruent. Okay, we'll do one more example, and then we'll practice some harder ones in class. Example 3. Okay, so let's label. So they're telling me AE is congruent to DC. That's the side. And then they're telling me that angle E is congruent to angle C. So again, it looks like they're only giving me 2 pieces of information, but when I noticed this, I quickly noticed that I have some vertical angles right here. So I actually have angle, side, angle. I have 2 angles and a side. So I have a new piece I can add in from the diagram beyond what they gave me. So let's start out. So with what they gave me. So AE is congruent to DC, and that is a side. And how did I know? I know because it was given to me. And then angle E is congruent to angle C, and that's an angle. And I also know that because it was given to me. And then this time I have one new piece of information that I wrote myself, so that I found myself. So I can't say angle B because there's two angles right here. I wouldn't know which one you're talking about. So I'm going to use three letters. So I'm going to say ABE. Here, I'm going to write it bigger over here. Angle ABE is congruent to angle DBC. And that's an angle. And how did I know? It wasn't given to me. I know that because they are vertical angles. So I have my reasons. I have two angles and a side. So I know that triangle ABE is congruent to triangle DBC by angle, side, angle. So this is how we put a little proof together using our givens and then other information we can see in the diagram to show that two triangles have to be congruent. We'll practice more in class, but make sure you have some good examples down to follow along tomorrow.